Hi everyone, welcome back. So, you've probably guessed by now, either from just reading the title, stumbling across this, or you've been tuning in. Feelings Fridays, where I try to create a space where I, myself, and anyone tuning in can access themselves more deeply, can kind of tune into their inner lives and emotions. And I would like to dedicate this episode to men, which might sound a little funny or strange, kind of random, but I've been noticing in my life and in the lives of my male friends, family, their experiences. I've really had my attention drawn to the way that living in this society as a man means a lot of the time being very limited in how you are allowed to access yourself, to express yourself. We really don't have healthy models of men being able to feel what they're feeling. There's pretty much just anger, in media you see men, just slamming their fists down on the table or expressing themselves through violence out of a place of anger. And that somehow is okay, but a man feeling fearful or sad or tender and caring, these aren't things that we're comfortable or familiar with. And living in a patriarchy is harmful for everyone, regardless of gender. And I have been singing and speaking and writing to ways that it has harmed women because that is my direct experience. And those are incredibly important. And I see feminism making and having made really important steps in bringing awareness to those issues and working to reverse them. But I've also seen women that identify as feminists use feminism as a platform to further deny men range of their whole humanity. And I don't think that's feminism. To me, that's not what the movement's about. So I would like to use this episode to kind of delve into some of that and to have compassion for the struggles that men face that maybe women don't face the same way. There's a book that Bell Hooks wrote called Will to Change, and I have it somewhere. I don't know where it is, so I had to resort to looking up quotes from it on the internet, but it still works okay. So I'm gonna read you a couple of those. I'm also going to play you a song and read you a poem. And the first quote is this: "Patriarchy demands of men that they become and remain emotional cripples. Since it is a system that denies men full access to their freedom of will, it's difficult for any man of any class to rebel against patriarchy, to be disloyal to the patriarchal parent, be that parent female or male." And she actually goes on to talk about how single mothers, there's actually a pretty strong trend of single mothers holding their male children to very strict gender roles, kind of enforcing masculinity or, toxic masculinity as it's called, even more so than in, a two-parent, opposite-gendered parent family, which I think is really interesting because, it's not that just men have created this notion. It's kind of all of us that are perpetuating it. But there's also, on the flip side of that is there's this archetype now, because it's so common, of kind of the emotionally distant, closed-off father. I am very lucky to have a father that I can communicate with very openly, get into emotional issues. But I know that's actually pretty uncommon. Most people I know don't have that, and it makes me really sad. It's something that I think we should be paying attention to, just how that embodiment of masculinity, toxic masculinity, is kind of a way that trauma is passed down. So the song I'm going to play you is by Anais Mitchell, and I think it speaks beautifully to that archetype, that man, that father that we wish we knew how to love, that we wish knew how to love us. So many of us, that is. Anyway, the song is called He Did. Love you, love you, love you. He did, he did, he did. He stood high above you. He you were just a little kid. Your daddy was a farmer. His back was burnished red and gold, and every time he closed his eyes it was too cold. He sowed 100 rows of corn the summer you were born, and wondered what your life would yield, and how it feels to be a child of his. How it feels. Your daddy was a builder. He swung his hammer brown and silver, and every time he closed his eyes a nail was pulled, and you were always underfoot like a splinter in the wood. He couldn't pull you from his heels. How it feels, how it feels to be a child of his. How it feels, how it feels. Love you, love you, love you. He did, he did, he did. He stood high above you, sky around his head, sawdust in his hair, scarecrow of a man. He couldn't draw you near him. But you grew up straight and you grew up true. He kept a blue-gray eye on you till the day he closed his eyes and left them closed. Your daddy didn't leave a will. He left a shovel and a hole to fill. And how it feels, how it feels, how it feels to be a child of his. How it feels to be alive like this. But who gave you the axe to grind? Who gave you the path to find? Who gave you the road to hoe? Who gave you your sorrow? Who gave you the break at dawn? Pleasure just to look upon. Who gave you the barn to build? An empty page to fill. Thank you, Anais, for that one. Thank you for letting me try to do it justice. So, moving into another quote from Bell Hooks's book, kind of regarding how we learn to love men differently so that they, can be more human. Bell Hooks says, "To create loving men, we must love males. Loving maleness is different from praising and rewarding males for living up to sexist-defined notions of male identity. Caring about men because of what they do for us is not the same as loving males for simply being. When we love maleness, we extend our love whether or not males are performing or not. Performance is different from simply being. In patriarchal culture, males are not allowed to simply be who they are and to glory in their unique identity. Their value is always determined by what they do. In an anti-patriarchal culture, males do not have to prove their value and worth. They know from birth that simply being gives them value, the right to be cherished and loved." And I'm going to follow that up with a poem that I wrote a love poem for a man. And yeah, I wrote this poem after someone very close to me saw me and called me gentle, and just kind of how that made me feel and my thoughts on it. The poem is called Gentle. I cannot picture the boy you were without your set of squared shoulders, as if you entered the world already braced against it. You love the linearity of logic, pride yourself on the weight of your brow. Your edges are rigid and smooth. I wonder what knives have sharpened themselves upon you. I wonder what other shapes you might have taken. The first time you called me gentle. Later, I cried. I am the water to your rock. My movements are subtle, my skin permeable. I live in constant rawness, while you hold fast and stoic, the anti-vulnerable. I know you could not have looked in and named my tenderness without having encountered it somewhere in the cavern of your chest. When laughter sends waves breaking down your back, I see something soft and unguarded, free of protective shelves and trusting of shelter. So thank you so much for tuning in with me this week, and love everyone in your life. That's important, obviously, but remember to love men with a special compassion for ways that other people might have limited their ability to fully express what they feel, because that's important for us to create for everyone. Thank you so much, and see you next week.